Come on in to the African True Moors Media. Go ahead on and subscribe. We have this video from the one and only Grandmaster Jay and the Real Exposure Show. Shout out to him, speaking some real factual things, dropping those jewels. Let's get it.
Here with me today. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview with me.
I'm glad to be here. Matter of fact, I'm glad to be anywhere right about now when you stop and look at, all of the stuff that's going on in the world. If I had the chance to sit down and talk with anybody, I would rather sit down and talk with my own folks. So that's why you and I are going to sit here. We're going to chop it up for a couple minutes, and maybe somebody will walk away learning something they didn't know. I hope that's the benefit of this exchange. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for being here. So I want to get right into it. Let's talk about your movement. Let's talk about the NFAC, what you stand for, and what's your mission.
Well, the NFAC was a response to the environment that was created under the past administration. 4 years of giving folks who actually had a problem with us just being black folks green light, be okay, to come on out, not hide it anymore, be all in our face with it like we back in the 60s and the 50s again. Come on out. You don't have to hide the fact that you want to lynch us again, that you want to shoot us down with impunity, and that the justice system just basically blows us off. You wanted to bring that out in the open. You didn't want to be sneaky about it no more. You didn't have a problem telling us why we couldn't do regular stuff, why we were just trying to be regular human beings, why we at the Starbucks, why are we in the Wendy's, why are we getting questioned all of a sudden? This atmosphere that was created, and everybody can sit around and point fingers, but what actually happened was there was a whole demographic of us that we thought them things was gone, long gone. So how are they coming back? You understand what I'm saying? So that let us further know that it was time for us to move past talking about it. It was time to move past marching and waving signs and singing and forgiving. It was past. It was time for us to do something that our predecessors did, that put them on notice, that made them change laws, that made them back up, that made them remember that, listen, we are the most loving people in the world, but if you push us too far, everybody got a breaking point. That's what actually manifested the NFAC in Brunswick, Georgia, for the Ahmaud Arbery killing, which was not by the police, it was just by white folks who thought that it was okay. For whatever reason, they made up to chase that boy down and then shoot him to death in the street with a shotgun, and nobody go to jail, and it ain't no crime scene, no report, everybody backpatting, and this is the good old boy. No. We're not having that no more. That's what set it off. Okay, because we already were dealing with a quarantine. Everybody lost everything. Some people still ain't got their jobs back. You got more people out of work right now than there was during the Great Depression. Plus, on top of that, we still being over-policed. Plus, on top of that, we still got to be victims of police brutality. Plus, on top of that, the disrespect that has extended to our sisters and our kids now. Come on, At some point, the talking had to stop. So, watch this. We're not our predecessors. I'm going to say it. We're a lot more intelligent. We're a lot more financially stable than our predecessors, because they were just coming out of Jim Crow. It's not their fault. They were just coming out of a situation. We've been out of the situation for 60 years. So getting organized in accordance with the Constitution. See, the white boys can do that all day. They can pick up guns and run up in the State House and run up in the Capitol and kill people and smear doo-doo on the walls and have a good old time. Everybody just go home. Nothing to see here. Move on. But let the brothers and sisters get together in accordance with that same Constitution to come out and say, look, y'all either fix this or it's going to be some situations. That's all it is. The purpose of the NFAC was to defend black people, not offend anybody. See, let me say this on your show before we get started. Every other group that's out there has a problem with us. All these other groups were simply made to fight us. But we are created to defend us, not to go to war with them and play 300. That's not our mentality. Additionally, to self-police ourselves. There's a model out there where you can police your own communities. There's proactive policing and there's reactive policing. Reactive policing is what we get right now. Remote control, reactive policing. Something happened in the community, you got to remotely call somebody who comes down and reacts to whatever they think is going on, and that ain't working. Community policing is proactive. You live in the community. We ain't talking about police officers. We talking about members of the gangs in the community and the people that got a vested interest in the community, self-policing themselves to head off stuff before it happens, being proactive as opposed to being reactive. Being a structure that was in place the same way the Panthers did it. And you see what happened to the Panthers, so we learned our lesson. Not to be infiltrated by COINTELPRO, not to overextend ourselves, and not to become a part of what's already going on. This got to be the next level in progression. So the NFAC was born and got the attention of everybody, including the U.S. government. They had to go dust off the old books. They're back. And they in the same playbook right now. Ain't nothing changed. The only thing that's changed is our response. You see, they let us bring up the NFAC. They let us flex our might. They let us speak to power. And if you notice now, they clamping down on everybody. You see, anything to take out the black man or the black woman from standing unified and talking about liberation and getting reparations and trying to get some respect on us as a race, not just as individuals. They don't want to hear all that. If we got to shut some white boys down to do it, we'll shut them down too. Notice everybody getting locked up now. But whose name don't you hear in any of that? The NFAC. The NFAC was the response to that environment and the beginning of a process and an organization that could be blueprinted in communities all around the country. So you don't have to wait for the bat light to go off and say, oh, come save me. No. That's why gun sales went up 58% last year. That's why all of a sudden, everybody understands what it means when we say just be black first. See, let me break something down to people. Just because you love your people doesn't mean you hate everybody else. You might not like what they did to you, but that doesn't mean you hate them because you love your own people. And our problem is we love everybody but ourselves. We are our own worst enemy. They don't have to do it. We do the work for them. And all they have to do is go to the same playbook. Watch this. Cut off a few of their heads, put them in darkness, scare them, be their savior, and they will continue to do what they've been doing since the day we enslaved them. And that's what they see a threat for. That's what NFAC began to represent. It was bigger than the biggest militia. It was bigger than carrying guns. It wasn't even about that. It was an exercise in us, learning to work with us, to fix us, to protect us, to defend our children, us. Because that's something that we still haven't learned to do. Malcolm X said, until we learn to love each other, we can't learn to love another race. So y'all stop bringing everybody to the cookout. Until we learn to get along as a family first. We ain't saying we don't get over our differences. There's differences in your family and my family. But we all focus on one goal. And no matter who you are, if you're on the path of that goal, then you united, you my brother, you my sister. The NFAC is an international coalition now. We're in Africa, the UK, we're in Brazil, Argentina, all through the Mediterranean, all down through the Caribbean. Because this problem is not unique in the United States. What the pandemic did to society was put us on our knees. And when we got up, a lot of us just wanted to find a way to eat and not die from the virus. The last thing we wanted to see was flashback to 1957. That's what brought the NFAC into existence, and that's why it exists today.
Okay. You speak a lot about unification, liberation. History shows patterns of, basically vilifying, criminalizing, neutralizing, and destroying movements. We had a lot of great movements in history, from the Haitian Revolution, Marcus Garvey, the movement, the Black Panthers. What are some things that right now and today that you think that we can do that is basically help? We can take a look at the past and not make the mistakes of the past and keep moving forward.
I've said this many times. That's a great question. I've said this many times, is that history is not repeating itself. People are repeating history. There's a book called Brainwash by Mr. Burrell that talks about the psychological change and the colonization of the black mind when we were invaded. It wasn't so much our gold and our bodies that they took. They colonized our minds. And to this day, even though we've been physically released from the plantation, even though we're not picking cotton and being sold, and there's certain things that can be done to us that's not against the law. Those days are gone. But what's still here are the mental changes. And what has happened is just what I thought would happen and what I said would happen when this movement started, which is why we're different. You don't just know your history. You have to learn from your history, both sides of the coin. And then from there, you draw lessons. The very first mistake that every movement keeps making, and people tend to act like it's something that's so alien to their ears. Like I just said, stop inviting everybody to the cookout. The very first thing the NFAC did was we declared we're all black, period. No exceptions. Has nothing to do with anybody else. Has to only do with us. Then it takes us to our next issue. Our next issue is the same way they infiltrated every other movement with people who look like us on the outside, but are not us on the inside. Examining what your agenda is and what your purpose is here is something that the NFAC repetitively does. That's why you see a lot of people that have to leave, because you're not here for the very same reason. If you've ever read the book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, by Chancellor Williams, he talks about before we can unify as a people globally, national, or even locally, the first thing we have to do is collectively agree that we all suffer from post-traumatic slave disorder. All of us need a little help. Some of us need group therapy. But at the end of the day, until we acknowledge that psychologically, we got to change some things. All the things that we keep saying we want every year after year. Oh, we take back the dollar. We want to rebuild Black Wall Street. We want to claim our communities back. We want to bring back the nuclear. We want to. Well, guess what? People in hell want ice water too. But all this wanting without addressing the root problem is what they did to us mentally. What you're watching today is that split. There are people right now